There's always something going on in the world of cryptocurrency, and these days, the focus is on the collapse of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange. Most recently, authorities in Turkey have successfully conducted an operation to seize the FTX CEO's local assets, and have also opened an inquiry into claims of fraud. We'll be covering that, as well as the 5 main takeaways from the devastating crash of FTX and SBF in today's video. First up, seizing Bankman-Fried's assets. It seems like all everyone in the fintech world is concerned about right now is the collapse of the FTX cryptocurrency exchange platform. If anything, it's pretty much the highest profile crash in the industry to date, and there's a ton of controversy surrounding what caused it. But the biggest piece of news related to this whole mess is the fact that Turkish authorities have made a move against the CEO and founder of the exchange, as well as his affiliates. The Turkish Treasury and Finance Ministry recently announced that authorities had seized the assets of Sam Bankman-Fried and affiliates. Plus, they also reported that an inquiry into claims of fraud had been opened. It turns out, Turkish authorities had apparently gotten involved because the FTX organization ran a local subsidiary called FTX Turkey, and a probe into the collapse of the exchange had raised questions about the subsidiary's role. Apart from the individuals directly involved with FTX, Turkey's Financial Crimes Investigation Board, or MASAC, is also looking into parties that were associated with the exchange. That includes financial institutions and crypto asset service providers. And this heavy crackdown by the state comes after the government added cryptocurrency exchanges to the list of entities that are covered by the country's anti-money laundering and terrorism financing regulations back in May last year. Next up, the fall of FTX. If you're not completely caught up on what's been going on with FTX, which was up until recently one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges on the planet, we'll give you a quick rundown. In November 2021, FTX filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in America. It turns out they had apparently run into liquidity issues. Allegedly, the exchange was actually using client money to take huge risks in investment bets through a trading firm founded by the FTX CEO called Alameda Research. In fact, many had already been quite suspicious of the ties between FTX and Alameda, and those suspicions were confirmed a month ago when the finances of Alameda Research were uncovered. And the same day that FTX had filed for bankruptcy, Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO and traveled to the Bahamas. Plus, it's been reported that his parents and other senior executives of the company apparently used about $121 million worth of customer funds to purchase property there. That certainly warrants closer inspection into Bankman-Fried's administration. According to James Bromley, who's currently in charge of overseeing the new management of FTX, there weren't any proper controls in place at the organization before these legal proceedings took place. As for Bankman-Fried, he seemed to have been using the company for his personal interests and whims. Though a lot of people have suffered as a result of this crash, it does mean that reforms can now take place to ensure investor assets are properly protected. Moving on, here are 5 takeaways from the FTX and SBF implosion. First up at number 5, the issue with idolization. So the whole point of blockchain technology and the rise of cryptocurrency was the fact that it's supposed to be decentralized, and there aren't supposed to be any dominating figures or institutions that dictate how assets in the market function. But despite that, adopters of the technology have made a habit out of idolizing prominent proponents and creators of blockchain platforms and tokens. Talking about Bankman-Fried, he was just the latest one in a long line of corporate heads that have been put on a pedestal. In fact, there was Do Kwon, the founder of Terra, who also went bust. Next, there was Su Zhu, leader of Three Arrows Capital. And most recently, you had Alex Mashinsky, founder of the disgraced Celsius platform. There's certainly something to be said about the crypto bro investors that have indulged in this misguided behavior, but SBF definitely shares the blame, considering he actively encouraged it. Apart from engaging with celebrities and huge internet personalities to push his company forward in the mainstream, he also made it a point to bolster his personal reputation by plastering his face on billboards across America. But when it came down to actually running the company and explaining what was going wrong, he certainly didn't have the same composure. In fact, part of his defense for the collapse was simply that he didn't know what was going on with the platform's user margins. Despite all the talk by SBF and his supporters, he was clearly unfit to be in charge, let alone a regulator-friendly crypto advocate as many politicians propped him up to be. Next at number 4, the FTX Binance narrative. Before FTX collapsed, one of the big stories surrounding it was its rivalry with the biggest crypto exchange by volume in the world, Binance. Though Binance was one of FTX's initial investors in 2019, the two quickly became public competitors and things began to sour. Moving on, in July 2021, FTX even cashed out Binance's equity stake in the form of their proprietary crypto tokens known as FTT, and that left Binance with a ton of FTT to liquidate, and it might have been the first step toward the downfall of FTX. The prevailing narrative prior to FTX being outed as a fraud was that the CEO of Binance, Changpeng Zhao, or CZ, was the troublemaker. CZ insisted that his company was beyond the reach of any judicial body because it had no formal headquarters, which angered advocates for greater regulation. On the other hand, SBF was seen as the poster child, regularly meeting with politicians and advocating for sensible regulations in the crypto market. But that was all a farce. When FTX seemed to be running out of legs to stand on, SBF announced that he was willing to sell FTX to Binance. That move no doubt came as a shock to everyone that saw the CZ-SBF rivalry as black and white, and it definitely impacted people's perception of SBF. CZ turned that offer down, though. These events have made things uncertain when it comes to regulation. Though CZ might be seen as shady for dodging governmental regulation, he hasn't really been pinned for something nefarious like FTX has. Coming up at number 3, DeFi advocates proved right. A major lesson from this collapse, as well as that of other exchanges and cryptocurrencies, is that the key to the market running smoothly is decentralization. As soon as FTX's fall was made public, DeFi advocates were quick to make the point that this wouldn't have been as big a problem if the exchange wasn't centralized. They pointed to the fact that DeFi platforms have continued working as they should. Even when Terra fell, DeFi users were the first to get paid back. When you put your faith in a centralized exchange, you're putting your faith in the people that run it. The people running FTX chose to use user funds for their own personal interests. And of course, the users were the ones that suffered. Amidst all of those controversies and company failures, Bitcoin, a truly decentralized cryptocurrency, has remained at the top of the market without any such trouble. Following up at number 2, FTX's collapse does not spell CeFi doom. Though it would be easy to point out the recent failures of centralized cryptocurrency exchanges like FTX and Terra and extend that to the entire concept, it's not that simple. DeFi users might champion the idea that decentralization is the future, but the problem is that it isn't exactly accessible for the layman to get into. The user experience for DeFi platforms might be too esoteric, and the next best way for regular people to get involved with cryptocurrency would be to engage with exchanges that seem trustworthy. FTX might have fallen, but there are alternatives that haven't had their track records marred yet. For the regular Joe in America, the best option to invest in cryptocurrency would be an exchange like Coinbase. The company pointed out the fact that it doesn't have its own crypto tokens to muddy the waters, and also claimed that, unlike FTX, it doesn't use customer funds. People might say that Coinbase is way too compliant and doesn't offer the same freedom that DeFi does, but it's proven to be a very good, accessible alternative. As things stand, it seems likely that both DeFi and CeFi have a strong future ahead of them, despite numerous controversies. Finally, at number 1, the industry has taken a hit. There's definitely a case to be made for the fall of FTX and SBF being a good thing. As we've said ourselves, this means that there are fewer bad actors in the industry overall, and it gives space for regulators to come in and adjust things. The hope is that this failure will result in other platforms being more cautious, and lawmakers adjusting their approach to this new technology. But there's still damage done. A lot of people have been skeptical about the use of blockchain technology and the adoption of cryptocurrency in the financial and industrial sectors. This incident just gives those individuals more reason to have the stance that they do. It gives the more skeptical politicians ammunition in their crusade against the new technology. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think that DeFi will eclipse CeFi in the future? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.